Welcome back. With Lloydminster having a heat warning in effect, the SPCA wants to remind residents the dangers of leaving your pets in your vehicles. Our Shelby Clark has more.
Joining us today is Becca Lawrence from the SPCA. How are you today, Becca?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm really good. So with the weather heating up into plus 30s this week, what do you want to remind residents to do to keep their pets safe?
Obviously, like the biggest one is, you keep them in a nice cool place where they can stay in the shade or in the house, kind of where they can stay out of the, beaming hot sun, right? So, and then also, like, you just not leaving them in vehicles as well. Like, that's our biggest one, obviously, that we're always kind of pushing throughout the summertime. And then just, access to that water that they can have so they can stay hydrated as well.
And why is it important to not leave your pets in the vehicle in this weather especially?
It's just one of those things where obviously the vehicle's off, those temperatures rise extremely fast, even if the windows are open. It's just, it's that tin vehicle that it holds the heat in. So that's our biggest reason as to why you shouldn't take your animals with you. If you're doing your errands, but you're leaving the AC on, obviously worst case scenario, the AC stops working, kind of thing. And then that would be a danger to the animal as well. And then I think, honestly, just another big one is, if people feel so strongly about it, like, sometimes, authorities can be called, or worst case scenario, they're breaking a window to get your animal out of that vehicle.
And at what temperature would you say is the most dangerous to leave your pets in the vehicle?
Obviously, even right now, it's warm, like even if it's plus 20, some of us may not think that that's all that warm. I mean, for me, I'm always warm. So, but, in a vehicle, it's extremely warm. It climbs quite quickly, and it can get to the plus 30s before you even know it. So it doesn't take long. Within 10 minutes, typically it rises at least 10 degrees in a vehicle. So you can imagine if you're in a store for 20 minutes to half an hour, it's going to be extremely hot in there.
And what would you suggest for residents to do with their pets instead of leaving them in the vehicle if they aren't able to leave them at home?
If you can find, like there's tons of those pet sitters around right now. Obviously, if you're out for errands, it's not something you're really going to want to do. But obviously, it's one of those things where you say at least leave the air conditioning on if you do have to take your pets with you. Minimize the amount of time you're in that store, like to no longer than 5 minutes, right? Like it's just, again, it's one of those worst case scenarios if the AC stops working and extremely hot in the vehicle. But it's one of those things. If you can't take your animal with you, at least minimize the time frame that you're in each of those stores for sure.
And is there anything else you'd like to add as a reminder for pet owners during this hot weather?
Just, take care of them, watch them. Obviously dogs, especially, their normal temperaments are to pant a lot. So, that helps them sweat. Like, dogs don't sweat normally like we do. So they can't regulate heat like we do. They sweat through their feet, but then again, if they're still, they have all that fur on them, and, it holds that heat in. So, typically if you aren't taking your dog with you, take it to places where you can take that animal inside with you, because it's just one of those cases where, like I said, lots of people feel pretty strongly about it, and which is fine too as well. But it's one of those things where even if your dog's fine, someone else might not. So it's just one of those things just to be cautious of for sure.
And at the SPCA, are there any incidents right now with people leaving their pets in the vehicles?
Not too much. Obviously, if we ever do get any phone calls like that, we're recommending people to contact the Lloydminster bylaw, because in a case like that too, if an animal is in distress, it isn't legal for you to break that window open. You can get charged for that and things like that. So it's best to let the authorities to deal with that. And then we always say too, if you're risking breaking that window open, you are risking that animal, and you're also risking yourself too, because sometimes that can make the dog panic and you could get bit too, kind of thing. So we always recommend not breaking the windows, but if you do see an animal in distress, not even just in a vehicle, in general, just call your local bylaw enforcement.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Becca, and giving us some tips to keep pets safe right now.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having us.